Or not.
Oh,
This is the Honolulu Blues, sponsored by Callsheet, a Detroit Lions podcast. Now here are your hosts, Adam Stock, Julius Porter, and Nick Favo.
Welcome in. We are the Honolulu Blues, back from sabbatical. It's been forever, but we are all back in the States. For everyone that's been following the last 3 years, something-ish of that nature, Julius, right there in the middle, has been in Germany, but we have brought him back to the States as well. Adam, always repping Michigan and holding it down for the great Mitten State. And I'm Nick, and we're the Honolulu Blues. Adam, Julius, it is good to be back, boys. Julius, how does it feel to be back in the States, man?
It feels great, my man. It feels great. It's been a long 3 years away, but I'm finally rescued from the Spaniards, and I'm ready to fully indulge myself back into the American football scene.
Oh, perfect time for it, too. Football is underway, boys. It might be August, but Adam, it feels like football season. How you feeling so far?
oh, we are so back. Watching that preseason game. It was great. It just feels so good to see the Lions Honolulu Blue back on the TV. It was good. Got a lot to talk about for that preseason game, and we'll get right into it. But
Yeah,
yeah, I'm excited
to talk about. There was
Yeah,
a
I know.
lot that happened in that game, and we're going to be trying to condense it all into a shorter episode. But we're going to condense it even more because before we get to the Detroit Lions, we must talk about the Detroit Tigers. The Tigers are doing something improbable, impossible, unfathomable. They have gone from 16 games below 500, 11 and a half games out of the wild card race, now to be just 3.5 games out from the White Sox for the division lead and 1.5 games out from the wild card. So we're going to go back to you, Julius. Now that you're back in the States, you're able to watch these Tigers at a great time to be watching them too. You missed all of May, which was perfect. How are you feeling about our Tigers? And do you legitimately think they make the playoffs this year?
I'm feeling pretty good about the Tigers. I wasn't feeling pretty good a week ago when they traded Scuba away. I really was ready to just forfeit the MLB season, stop watching because it's all a crank and a farce. The way they have no salary cap, but I think that the Dodgers, just looking back on it, just letting time roll by, I think it's going to help the league move towards, unfortunately, a lockout and eventually a salary cap that's going to make things a lot more level on the playing field. But as far as the Tigers go, a couple weeks post Scooble, post Mize, I really love the youth movement train direction they went in. Getting Max Clark, getting Ed Valencia, bringing these guys up. McGonagall's still hitting good. I mean, I was really ready for them to trade Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson too, just like the whole old guard of the whole last 5 or 6 years. But it's working. It's working. Their starting pitching is amongst the best in baseball. We got Troy Melton. I mean, I love watching him pitch. Jackson Jobe, he came back strong, even though he had a off game yesterday, shaking off the rust. But I can't complain about the Tigers. And they're doing the same thing they did the last few years, where they're kind of like this underdog. I think it was 2024 where they went on that crazy August run from last to first and made the playoffs, won a series. So I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it.
Hell yeah. Adam, anything to add on for the Tigers?
We got Melton, yeah, like you said, actually, you might have said that before the podcast started. But regardless, we got Melton, like a 45-ish minutes, a little over. That should be good. Detroit's got to win these next two against Chicago if they want to, win that Central. But if not, just get one, keep that lead over the Rangers. We're kind of battling with the Rangers and the Guardians right now. Guardians are quickly slipping away. Troy Melton's looking like the best pitcher in baseball. Torkelson is starting to come around and start to play some, real baseball. Dingler, he's starting to slow down a bit. I think I saw a stat. He was like 1 for his last 27 at bats, maybe more. But Dingler is so dang good. I'm not worried in the slightest. I just want all these guys to be grooving together. I don't want Dingler to turn it back on and then Torkelson fall off. And I just need, if everyone could come together and play their best, the Tigers, they're a legit team despite not having Scooball.
It is crazy to see us kind of replicating the 2024, and we've all seen it, so we know it can be done. And if Troy Melton continues to pitch the way he has, along with Jackson Jobe, this team seems destined to at least make the playoffs. And then the AL is so poor that anything can happen. But let's not talk about the Tigers too much. Detroit Lions had a football game where they lost by 2 points, but who cares about the final score of a preseason game? There was a lot to take away from it. I'm not going to go over every single player, though it seems like in due time we will. What I want to do is really focus on a few people, some good, some bad. We're going to start with the good, though. How about Ahmed Hassanin? He was fantastic on the day. 2 sacks. Was crying, I think, after his first sack, and just showed so much emotion, just like pour out of him after last year's injury that kept him out all season, or like maybe played in a preseason game or two, but ultimately didn't really get his time in. It was awesome to see him get 2 sacks. I'm not expecting him to be an every down contributor this regular season, but boys, what do we think about Hassanin's game, and then what we are expecting from him moving forward? And we're going to start with Adam. What do you got?
Hassanin, I'm excited for him, man. He was 6th rounder out of Boise State, an Egyptian guy. Had a chip on his shoulder coming to the NFL, was phenomenal at Boise State. But granted, it was Boise State. He was playing in the Sun Belt, the American.
The blue field.
Yeah, not sure what conference, but not one of the big power fours. But overall, Hassanin, I was quite impressed. He didn't just have that opening sack on Burrow, and I say Burrow because the Bengals did trot out their starters, so that was a legit sack. He also had a strip sack later on in the game. He impressed me, and with DJ Wonnum and Derek Moore, Derek Moore's 2nd rounder, Wonnum's kind of a veteran, but those 2 guys aren't anything crazy special to the point of, it's going to be really hard for Hassanin to try to carve out a role. I think if he keeps playing like this, he will absolutely have a role on this defense.
I love that. Julius, anything to add on Hassanin? What are your expectations for him this season?
I think Hassanin has star capability because of his emotion and his effort that he brings. He seemed like the strip sack in particular. I remember he wasn't really in the play when it first started, but his effort seemed to bring his arm around to strip the ball out of the hand of the quarterback. And you don't see that with players mostly these days. It's a special trait. My only worry with Hassanin is injuries, because he does have an injury history, and this is the Detroit Lions. Matter of fact, you're going to see that throughout this show, I'm going to keep talking about injuries because I have PTSD when it comes to injuries, when it comes to the Detroit Lions the last few years. And when I see something like Hassanin going hard in the paint like that, I just worry that it's not going to last long, because that kind of effort is going to lead to the IR. I hate to think that way, but a lot of Lions fans think that way. I'm putting it out right now. It's a worry. We saw a few injuries in that game.
Yes, we did. And that is exactly where we're going to go to. We didn't have any major crucial injuries because we didn't have a ton of major crucial players playing. But I will say the injuries that we saw were the guys that I did not want to see injured. Enos Rakestraw, a guy we have been waiting to flourish. And then he looked pretty good in the few series he was able to play, gets injured, but sucks it up and continues to play until he gets injured again a few plays later and has to leave. Now, I am not sure. I did not do my research on where we're at on that injury. But before we let Adam get into who I'm sure has already done his research, another injury is Mekhi Wingo gets injured, another guy we're waiting to see flourish on this defense. So, Adam, I'm going to go to you. Do you have any updates on the injuries? And if not, just what are your thoughts in general on either or both of these guys and their injury problems?
Yeah, Rakestraw, he seemed like he was down in a lot of pain. It seemed like it was that shoulder again, but he did kind of clear it up, say he was all good. He might miss, next preseason game, might be out a little bit, but I expect him to be back by the regular season. I don't think it was anything too serious. Wingo, on the other hand, it seems like it was concussion. I think Dan Campbell even mentioned that he's going to go into protocol or get looked at. So, uh, concussions suck, but at least it's not, a broken bone, torn ligament, something like that. Overall, yeah, it was a pretty clean preseason and really a decent, clean training camp. Obviously, the Cade Mays injury sucks a lot, but overall, if you look at the rest of the NFL, there were a lot of star players, especially offensive linemen in particular, that went down with an injury, and like guys like Laremy Tunsil, torn pec. Done for the season. There was a few other guys that are, done for the season. So if we can get Cade Mays back after the bye and he's 100%, then I think we should be good to go.
I love that. I love that. Julius, any thoughts on these injuries, especially because these injuries are to positions that may lack depth to a lot of people, and especially myself when you're looking at the Detroit Lions roster, secondary and defensive line and linebackers. I guess really the whole defense lacks a bunch of depth. So are these extra scary because of that, or just thoughts in general here?
No, you're exactly right, Nick. It's extra scary because we lack depth on defense, and it's showed and it's proven in the last couple years that our defense, once we lose a few starters, we become one of the worst defenses in the league, and it ruins our whole season. Even though we got Goff and St. Brown and Gibbs, it ruins our entire season. These defensive injuries to these key spots in the defensive secondary and on the defensive line. uh Rakestraw, he can be a key player for us. He has the talent. He's long, he's physical, he's smart. He's a good player. I see what Brad Holmes saw in Enos Rakestraw coming out of Missouri. But if he cannot stay on the field, we're going to be putting Khalil Dorsey out there and getting ate alive at the
Yeah.
cornerback two spot because we don't have Terrion Arnold because he's a idiot bust. I don't know why Seattle signed him. I mean, let me not go off on a tangent here, but literally, when it comes to the cornerback position, we need Enos Straw this season. Like he could be a X factor key player for us, and if we go far in the playoffs or not, or if we even make the playoffs or not, Enos Straw, we got to be careful. We sitting all our starters. We need to sit all our second guys too, and just let the third, fourth string undrafted free agents fight it out until we get to week one.
Well,
Yeah.
don't count out Nick Whiteside. Nick Whiteside he had
Oh,
a
yeah, he played
phenomenal
good.
training camp. He's been balling. Came in halfway through last season and has quickly climbed up the depth chart. He's currently sitting behind DJ Reed for that. However cornerbacks work, I would say he's the cornerback 3 behind Rock Ya-Sin and Reed. But overall, I agree with you, Julius. Yeah, we need everyone to stay healthy, or else we're going to be back to calling up practice squad players on a random, Sunday and having to redo the Legion of Whom, which, worked out, but it's nothing I would want to see again.
It works out until Kindle Vildor lets
Yeah.
a ball gets bounced off his face mask in the NFC Championship game, and we lose because our secondary is full of Cam Suttons and Kindle Vildors. And I want to keep with the secondary question. We'll flip over to what Julius just alluded to. That's Terrion Arnold. And if you watched HBO Hard Knocks, you saw in the second episode the clip of Terrion Arnold being worked out by Seattle to end the episode. Earlier in the episode, the John Schneider, the GM, and the coach were talking about him. Then they work him out, and then right before the Lions game starts, kicks off, it is announced that Terrion Arnold is signing with the Seattle Seahawks. So my question will go right back to you, Julius. Do you think that he sees the light of day and plays for Seattle? And if so, do you think it was a misjudgment on Detroit's end to release him so quickly? Or are you like, no, this guy literally kidnapped people and will never play in the NFL again? It does not matter what happens.
See, I think there's a chance he gets off. Because money talks. Money talks, and he can get a good lawyer down there in Florida, and he can come to some agreement with the prosecutors and get no jail time. I truly believe that is possible. Now he's facing like what, 10 felonies. He may as
8,
well,
yeah.
he may as yeah, he may serve some time, which would then deny him playing in the NFL, or the NFL might suspend him because they're still doing their little investigation, and they like to hit people over the head at the last second, like like right before week one. Oh, you're suspended 5 games for the NFL behavior policy. We've been looking into it for 8 months. They might hit him over the head like that, but honestly, if he would have showed me better skill in the Lions uniform, like he showed some flashes, but he didn't show the kind of flashes that Darius Big Play Slade showed his first couple seasons, or he didn't show the kind of flashes that Sauce Gardner showed his first couple seasons with New York. So if I would have saw that, then I would have been like, okay, maybe the Lions jumped the gun. They didn't want the distraction. He wasn't worth he wasn't worth the headache. But if he really was really that good, I don't think they would have made that decision that quickly. And Seattle is about the only team that I would expect to sign him, because if you're the defending Super Bowl champions, what do you have to lose? You could just cut him in a week or two. So I could see him not going to jail, but I could see him going to jail. I really don't know what's going to happen with him. But if he turns into a first team All Pro with Seattle and they win another Super Bowl with him, I might be on watch, boys. I might be on watch.
That is not going to happen, man. We know Terrion Arnold. We us Lions fans watched him play for the first 2 seasons, not even first full 2 seasons. He got injured for 6-7 games last year with a shoulder injury. My whole thing is with Terrion is, if he wasn't a first rounder, you wouldn't see any Lions fans freaking out like, did we jump the gun? Do we make a mistake? If this guy was like a 4th rounder, or exact same talent and play, no one would have really batted an eye. It would have sucked because it would have been some depth we've been losing. But overall, Terrion, I'm not too concerned about it. Even before all this news broke, Dan Campbell basically said, hey, you're not guaranteed a starting job. You're going to have to work for it. You're going to have to battle it out, which already tells me he was, on the hot seat. His depth chart was trickling down into the backup role. And then if he does end up playing, which I do expect him to play since he didn't, place any sports bets or do anything like that, I think he's just going to have a hefty suspension. We saw James Pierce get 8 games, who stalked his girlfriend, evaded the cops, a whole bunch of crap, crashed into his girlfriend's car. And then we saw Rashee Rice literally spend 30 days in jail, and he is going to be playing week 1. So the NFL, they're still very odd on their suspensions and how they treat that. But overall, basically how I look at it is, if you don't sports bet, or kill someone, you should be able to make it on the field at some point, which I do expect Terrion to, but I don't expect him to be anything much. It's going to be hard for him to carve out some play time. They got Devin Witherspoon over there, and they already have, an elite defense and everything built. So it's not like they have to see, oh, we got to see what this guy is capable of. If everything's working while Terrion's on the bench, he's going to stay on the bench.
Interesting takes, boys. I do not know what I have to say about Terrion Arnold. It's crazy. I can't wrap my head around whether he will play or he won't play. If he does play, I still thought Terrion Arnold was our best cornerback. And when he got injured last year, our defense took a huge plummet and will be very successful with Seattle if he plays with Mike McDonald, with the newly paid Devin Witherspoon. It's deadly. I don't like it. It's probably the wrong word to use with Terrion Arnold, though, because he did kidnap or paid some people to kidnap someone. And I don't know what's going on with all that. So it's interesting. Let's get back to the Lions. Let's get back to the preseason game. Let's talk about Isaac Tisslaw. Mr. Butterfingers from game 1 was rough. One went right through his hands and doinked him in the freaking face mask and then was picked off. Very bad. It was very bad. But it was like, okay. And then the next throw to him dropped again. And now the defense made a really good play on that second one. And you could say he knocked it out of his hand, but we saw Tesla come away with like catches with one fingernail. And so for him to have two hands on these balls and drop both of them, I was a little shocked. Anything to write home about Isaac Tesla, Adam? What do you got?
Yeah, it was odd. He had two drops in the first quarter. Definitely nothing any Lions fan was expecting. Maybe the key to him is you just throw the ball far and outside and, let him make a one-handed spectacular catch because it seems like that's what he's best at. On that second drop he had, it was a fourth down. So both of those plays were very, very crucial plays. The Lions marched right down the field on that opening drive. Altmaier looked great and bounced right off Tesla's face mask. And typically on drops, they'll go through the hands and the ball hits the ground. But when it hits your face mask, it pops up right in the air. And it is like a 99% chance of that ball getting intercepted. So it's preseason. Hopefully he can work out some kinks. Hopefully he's hanging out with Amon-Ra on the jugs machine, catching 200 passes, 300 passes. But overall, I would have to see a couple more, poor performances, some more drops for really me to start raising the red flag. I think he should be fine. And at the end of the day, Altmaier was throwing him the passes. I don't know. Him and Goff are both right-handed, so I don't know even if it makes any difference, but maybe Goff, throws with a little less heat, a little softer, a little harder, something like that, or Tesla's just a little bit more used to. And that's how it happened. But overall, not great for him. I do think that he's got the right, Scotty Montgomery. He's got Amon-Ra, J-Mo around him, some elite wide receivers that will keep his spirits high and not let him, dip down into an Eric Ebron state that just spirals, and the fans turn on you.
100%. Julius, anything to add for Tesla? Where are you at with that game one performance?
Yeah, I totally agree with Adam that he doesn't need to let this compound. In his second preseason game, he needs to come out and be the best receiver on the field for the Lions because he is wide receiver one while we're in this whole injury defensive phase. We're trying to save our starters, but Isaac Tesla, he's kind of a pseudo starter. He's the wide receiver 3, so he could easily fill in for J-Mo or St. Brown in a nick in a game. And so we can't have him having these kind of butterfingers. However, I just think it comes down to nerves. I think he's just getting that sophomore slump, the sophomore nerves. But the preseason is a great time to get rid of that shit. Now, you did it in the first game. Cool. Everything happens for a reason. Come out in the second game and show us what you showed us last year, which is that he can catch contested catches. He can catch wide open slants. So I know he can do that. I just think it's just nerves and
game one.
It's not a part of his player DNA.
Sure. I definitely agree. I'll say someone on the opposite end who really impressed and did show what could be a part of his player DNA and possibly jumped a spot on the depth chart. We'll see what Adam has to say about this. But before we do, I'm going to go to Julius. Do you have any thoughts on Jalen Sailors and his performance? Jacob Sailors. Sorry. Jalen Sailors, I think, was an old safety for Michigan State back in the day.
You're right. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Jacob Sailors. And did he jump Sion Vaki for running back 3, in your opinion?
I would say no. Just because I agree with Dan Campbell and the coaching staff that Sione Vaki is a weapon on special teams, a unique weapon. He's an athlete. He's the athlete that you recruit out of high school that doesn't have a position. He's just a football player. This is the perfect Dan Campbell prototype. They love him. It don't matter where we put you, you just play football. So I think he holds a special place there on the roster, on the depth chart.
But the best ability in football is availability, and he is never available. He's never available.
It's absolutely true. And then when he is available, we don't even notice because he does all the dirty work. And, he'll play 30 snaps on special teams and do a lot of good stuff, but you're not thinking about him in the same way as David Montgomery or Jalen Sailors because he's not breaking off 15-yard runs.
I got everybody saying Jalen Sailors now. I'm sorry.
I said it, didn't I? You know what? He was a good safety at MSU. He was a good safety. But yeah. Jacob Sailors,
Right.
he shows a lot of burst. I like him. He kind of reminds me of a Blake Corum type of running back. He has good vision, good burst, low center of gravity. I definitely think he fits the mold. If we lost Pacheco, he definitely fit the mold to take over that David Montgomery role. We call it the Montgomery role because it is. But
Yeah.
that Montgomery role, he's better. He might be better suited than a Sione Vaki, but Sione Vaki's place on the roster is more solidified, even
Mm,
in his little injury kinks.
I like that.
As long as he is available for week one, he's more is more likely Jacob Sailors gets sent down to the practice squad than Sione Vaki.
That is the kind of where I was fishing for. Adam, what do you say about this? And
Yeah.
what do you think about the performance of Sailors in game one in general?
I thought he was great. He led the team in rushing. He was tied for first on the Lions in receiving. He had the second most targets on the team. He finished with the best PFF grade for the offense. He looked, really sharp. He had the longest run of the game between both teams, as 27-yarder. He's a solid guy that I actually really liked last year, especially in the return game. He was taking some kick returns back. Now I know we got Greg Dortch back there. That'll probably be our punt returner, but it would not shock me if the Lions kept 4 running backs, because they kept 4 last year and ran it back with, Jacob Sailors as kick returner with Greg Dortch. And Sailors was kind of just this fourth reserve, while Sione Vaki was a bigger role in the special teams. And if we did have an injury to Gibbs and or Pacheco, then Sailors would maybe, get some opportunities, because Pacheco, as we've seen, is dealing with an MCL sprain. He has been banged up the last couple of years, so it may start to look like he's a bit injury prone. So hopefully that won't be the case for the start of the season. But overall, I was pretty impressed with Jacob Sailors.
You telling me Brad Holmes got an injury prone guy? I don't believe you. I don't believe that for a second. Let's talk about another guy that Brad Holmes got. That is first-round draft pick out of Clemson, offensive tackle Blake Miller, who played the entire first half at right tackle, showed glimpses of promise, showed glimpses of needing some work. Adam, we'll stick with you. Do you have any thoughts on the first-round draft pick Blake Miller from his game one performance?
Yeah, I thought he was pretty solid. He played 39 snaps, which was, a solid chunk. He looked pretty good. He really only had one kind of missed block where, the defender just hit him with a swim move. But overall, he has a great drop step. He knows how to get his feet right. There was another play that impressed me on a little screen pass, and he was able to get out into open field. And, he didn't, it was kind of a half block, but it worked because he got to a defender and he prevented him from tackling whoever caught the screen. And I was quite impressed, especially with him going against the Bengals first team guys. Miller, I believe, is going to start the season as our starting right tackle.
I agree. And Julius, do you have anything else to add on that? Because I also really liked Blake Miller and his performance, and do believe he starts at right tackle, but there is a chance that he doesn't. So, Julius, thoughts?
No, I think he was rock solid. Everything I saw from his film, I saw Baldy put up a special this morning about his performance on film. Um, Yeah, he was rock solid, and it goes to show, point out that the Lions were going against the Bengals starters in the first couple drives on offense and defense. Blake Miller's film against the Bengals starters, which I put more into than the backups, uh, was rock solid. He did everything that I would want him to do week one, and I do also believe he will be the starter week one.
Yeah, it was fun to see that the Bengals sent the starters out and our defense looked so stout against them with our backups in. That was my huge takeaway from the game, was how stout the backup, the depth defense looked against Burrow, Jamar Chase, Chase Brown. I thought the refs were in preseason form as well. Some rough calls against Detroit. That was brutal. Any last impressions or anything, last statements we want to say on game one preseason, Julius?
I just want to shout out Josh Dobbs. I think he is a better backup option than Teddy Bridgewater would have been. And I hope he sticks the whole season behind Jared Goff. I hope he doesn't play, but I hope he's the quarterback 2 the whole season. And I hope Altmaier is the quarterback 3. I just think he's not ready to be to start an NFL game or come in an NFL game and win a game for the Lions. But I feel like the Lions, like if they needed Josh Dobbs to play a quarter or two, not a game or two, a quarter or two, he could win. He could finish the game out and win the game if Goff need a breather.
Not a game. We're talking about a quarter. You know what I mean? Not a game. We're talking practice. Adam, what are any final thoughts or opinions on Game 1 preseason?
Overall, I thought the centers, Seth McLaughlin looked solid. He was a 2024 Remington Award winner for Ohio State that blew his Achilles out, went undrafted, and now it seems like he may be able to, push Juice Scruggs for that backup center position while Mays is down. I was, displeased quite a bit with Miles Frazier. He had 2 bad holding penalties, just did not look great. Mahogany was all right. None of the big tight ends really played. Laporta, Brock Wright were out. Conklin played like 10 snaps, and then it was Zach Horton. Luke Altmaier, honestly, he impressed me the most. Going through his progressions, looking off reads, I was very impressed. And I think he's starting to force the Lions into a situation where they're going to have to keep him, because if he's on that practice squad, I would almost guarantee another team's going to come up and snatch him. And from what I've seen, that he's shown enough to warrant a, hey, maybe in a couple years, if Goff starts to, slip away, this could be our guy. And I know it's a, long time away, but overall, I was impressed with Altmaier, and he's got some legs too. He took a read option on a 2-point conversion. Haven't seen the Lions run a read option in years, if ever, because Goff just can't do that. So it's nice to have a couple backup quarterbacks that are mobile, especially Josh Dobbs. We saw Dobbs get a 9-yard rush. He was a little more mobile, can give the Lions defense a little better idea of preparing against, maybe not like a Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen type quarterback, but just quarterbacks that are mobile, like a Jordan Love. We struggled a lot with Jordan Love last season because he could just slip in and out of the pocket, roll out, and he had some wheels to do it. So the offense looked pretty solid. I will say the thing I was most impressed on was the play calling. Offense and defense. Drew Petzing, it was night and day from what we saw from Drew Petzing and John Morton. Petzing looked like he was drawing up different plays. It wasn't just run up the middle, screen pass. He was doing play action. He was running play action off first down. He was getting creative with it, and I'm really excited to see him be able to play with a lot of these weapons like Goff, J-Mo, Laporta, Gibbs, etc. Kelvin Shepard on the opposite side. Detroit is rolling out a 4-2-5 defense. We haven't done that the past. It's been, the 3 linebackers, 4 up front, 2 safeties, 2 corners, but now we're rolling with a nickel, 2 linebackers, which I do like. Malcolm Rodriguez is a solid linebacker, but Jack Campbell and Derek Barnes, those are 2 solid dudes. Campbell especially, that can hold it down. You still got your 4 up front, and we really held the Bengals starters that entire first quarter to 3 points. It looked like they were getting ready to score a touchdown off the bat, but Hassanin had a great sack, and Detroit honestly really let up. Well, they did let up 1 touchdown, but it came off of a fumble inside the 10-yard line. So the defensive scheme, I think, is starting to look a lot better, and I think Kelvin Shepard is starting to get more into an NFL feel on how it goes, because last year Lions had a crazy tough schedule. He was his first year as defensive coordinator. Now it's the complete opposite. Year 2, we have a really easy schedule, playing a lot of bad quarterbacks, and I think he's going to be able to try new things, see how this 4-2-5 works, and I think he's going to do a good job.
I love it. Andy looked like a dog with the towel on his head over the game. He was looking like a dog. I love me, Shep. I want him to be great. I want the team to be great. Detroit will be hosting the Washington Commanders this coming Saturday. Yes, Saturday, August 22nd at noon. So if you're going, make sure you have a good time. This is the only Lions preseason game at Ford Field this year. But other than that, we will be back later on this week with a season prediction for the entire Detroit Lions regular season and where we have them finishing. We will also give you a preseason game prediction. That episode 2, look for that on Tuesday or Thursday. Adam has already left us. He normally does our goodbyes, but for Adam and the Honolulu Blues and Julius, myself, Nick, everybody, thank you for watching. Have a great day.